All right, it's in between. I had to shut Sean up so that we could talk because he was telling us to talk. So
Because I had to
tell
shut
him.
Richard up.
That's right. I had to shut all of you up. All right, what were you talking about?
Todd, you shut up.
No, you shut up.
You're not my manager.
I don't like any of you guys.
You're not the boss of me.
All right, what was it you were talking about?
We started talking about comics and release schedules and shipping back stuff, and then Richard started talking about what about TV shows and a lot of stuff that stopped and production starting back up. So what were you saying?
So we're kind of at an interesting point now with this virus where the studios, if they'd already shot something, they rushed it to basically kind of editing and production space so they could get it on the air. So there's a lot of content that's kind of out there right now. But I don't think in the coming months we're going to see as much because they haven't been able to actually do any shoots because the people can't get together. And it seems to be something that's going to kind of happen in comic books as well, in the fact that they've got a couple of months of content ready to get to stores that they put on hold because of the virus. But they basically, not knowing what's going on, people have been laid off, writers have been, and projects have been shuttered. So when we get into the fall, comics themselves, there's not going to be as much content there outside of the classic stuff. We're in the same kind of boat that TV and movie productions are going to be in.
So the question is, in 6 months to a year, are we going to get a glut of COVID or virus comic books / TV / movie stuff of people being stuck in home, having to communicate over stuff, or being infected by touching or being coughed on? Is it going to get monotonous with shit like that?
Probably, yeah. I mean,
Yes.
It's probably going to be all pandemic stories and stuff that was created during pandemics. Everything's going to be depressing.
Well, you also think about what happened after 9/11. How many things began to have that resonance? You know, Battlestar Galactica having that wall where they would walk past and it would be the pictures of people that were lost was very reminiscent of what occurred with the people that died in the towers. So I think you're going to definitely see its influence going forward. I think you're going to see more reverence towards, older films like I all of a sudden the Steven Soderbergh film Contagion, which I thought was masterfully done, is now getting tons of people coming back saying, wow, this thing was so smart. And I think you're going to see all kinds of things like that.
That also doesn't mean you put Steven Soderbergh in charge of disease control just because he made a good movie.
What? I thought that's how it worked.
No, it's like it wasn't the writer of Contagion, saying, look, we predicted this stuff back in 2009, and we were saying you should pay attention to that stuff. No, you made a good movie. You understood how a pandemic works. That doesn't mean you predicted that this was going to happen.
Yeah. Well,
the thing that I think we talk about a few months down the line in terms of content, in terms of movies and TV and comics, I mean, we're still not even sure if we're going to have anything back to normal in a few months. I mean, it doesn't feel like this is something we're going to be out of the woods in next week or next month, that it's going to be kind of an ongoing thing for several months, if not a year, We haven't moved anything further down to make it in.
Once you speak to how you've set up your store now with the comics at the window and stuff so that you can limit exposure to people coming in the store and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. So we did something really, really novel for the novel coronavirus. We weren't able for a period of about 4 weeks to allow customers to come into the store. We were allowed to do shipping and delivery. And for a period of time, we could not do curbside. Now, I personally think it's a little foolish of Governor Abbott to try and Texas Governor Abbott to open things, restaurants, businesses like retail stores for 25% of their audience. You can have 25% capacity as the rule. But what we did prior to that opening order, we moved our fixtures to the windows ourselves, whereas the store has a very benefit to have very long, wide windows. So if you wanted to come to the store and buy something for curbside pickup, you could literally shop our store without having to come inside.
You can point and click.
Exactly. Now with the new open order, this 25%, we're in this quandary of like, well, do we move stuff out from the windows? Are people going to feel comfortable shopping in the windows? Do we open the store up? Do we what's safe for our employees, what's safe for me, what's safe for the people coming in. We can take all the precautions and masks and things like that, but it still increases risk of exposure by having to deal with people, that you haven't been, kind of sequestered with for 14 to 21 days. And I'm not even sure that the open order is going to be able to exist. If there is a resurgence of cases, will Abbott back down on the open order? Will it go back down? Will it go back up? Will the open order now allow 25% or 50% or 50% or 75% of people coming in? It's so odd.
It feels like there's no science behind it. It's money behind it, but whatever.
So
Right.
while my music career does not sustain my life in the way that your store does, Richard, I've looked at that there are some bars now that are starting to book gigs again, and I see musicians getting out there, and it's simply because people they're going to stay on the stage while people can get to-go orders.
Right.
I have a band that is 7 members, including myself. That's a lot of people on one stage. Number one, it's not safe for the 7 of us to be together.
Yeah, how do you stay 6 feet apart? Yeah.
And I did kind of toy with the idea that there have been a lot of things here in the suburbs of Dallas where you see people having block parties, and people can stay, you can do something on your front yard that can entertain them. And so what I thought about reaching out to my band and saying, hey, technically I could set up the PA. You all bring your own mics and stuff. I won't touch them. But we could set up 10 feet apart and still play together and hear each other and perform for everybody. It's still not safe. It's still not smart. I don't know if I've really set in my mind and thought, when is it going to happen to where I can perform as a musician with a band again? Because
go and look up that article about did you read about the choir in Washington that got together, and it was right when the COVID was kind of happening in Washington State? Mm-hmm. And this choir got together. Mm-hmm. Well, this close quarter singing actually moved the virus around a lot faster in that very small environment. Exactly. And there were high rates of infections. So singing, going to the gym and working out where you're exhaling, moisture and sweat and all this kind of stuff. It just seems like even 6 feet may not necessarily be enough for that kind of environment or that kind of activity. I don't know.
I think we're all in agreement, and at least at the minimum, until there is easily available testing, the 3 of us are not going to feel comfortable being in large groups. Theaters, going to a concert, going to a sporting event. Yeah. That's great. If I know that I can go there and then come home and find out if I'm sick, that's one thing. I just don't want to be around people that don't know that they're sick and stuff like that.
And dealing with the public that comes into the store, and you guys see this too when you go anywhere out and about. There are some people that are just naturally belligerent and just don't care about safety. And it's not even, I'm not even just talking about the virus, just in general, just people that don't have any sense of space or anything like that, or concern for people. And so I'm not necessarily worried about how I conduct myself when I'm around Sean, because Sean and I are friends and we have a respect for each other. We know how each other operates. It's when you're dealing with a bunch of people that just don't seem to have any sense about themselves that I feel runs the risk in these giant public environments.
It's the driving theory of I drive very safely. It's all the other fucking idiots around me that make it dangerous.
Pretty much.
Yeah, but I mean, they definitely have some, I maintain social distance. So what I'm doing now with the store is starting next week, we're allowing people to come into the store one party at a time of no more than 2 people. And we're going to be doing it almost like a reservation system. You can come in a private shop.
Party at the store?
You can come in and party at the store. Woo! 2 people at a time. So I'm going to keep the store still locked and the door shut. But if a patron wanted to come in and shop for 15 minutes, they can come in and shop. But it's just them. And everybody's wearing masks. We have the sneeze guard up and no touching of surfaces. The coronavirus on paper product is apparently only 3 hours. So that's nice to know that you can pick up a comic and set it down, and within a short period of time, it would no longer be carrying the virus.
And if you want a personal delivery, you just need to live like 2 streets over from you or something.
You just had to live at Sean's house. But I mean, I don't want to open up my store to have 5 or 10 people walking in there when I can't really fully pay attention to 5 or 10 people at once.
Right.
Well, and I have, when I go out in public or when people are over here, because we bought a house back last year, and we're trying to finish up finally the backyard work in it. And we have workers coming over here, and I'm friendly with them. I talk with everybody, but I cross my hands when I'm out in public or when people are over here that I don't know, and personally and stuff. I cross my hands to make sure I don't reflectively reach out and try to shake somebody's hand, because we had somebody over here 3 weeks ago that was working our garage and had our garage door finally working. And JJ went, "Oh, it's so nice to meet you." And she reflectively reached out to shake hands, and I yelled at her, "No." And, both of them were like, "Oh, shit, yeah, we don't want to shake hands." So I crossed my hands, but then JJ goes, you look like you're being so confrontational. And I'm like, well, I'd rather be looking confrontational than getting sick by somebody else.
We just this week, I had somebody come and haul something away from our garage. I needed to be able to pull my kid's car in the garage, and it was an albatross. I was get this thing out.
In a second, after you talk about this, we need to talk about how Appy's been taking all this. So anyway,
so I have this person come in, and he comes to haul this thing away. And he extends his hand, and I just had to look at him and say, "I'm sorry." I said, I'm not going to shake your hand. I hope you understand why. And he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't even thinking." And I get that. Yeah. I don't fault him, but I think everybody, you're going to have to change those modes of how does this work, And I saw a close friend recently. He came over and sat in the backyard with me. We shared a beer. We were socially, we were distant enough. I think we had about 10 feet. But he's a guy that I would hug, just same as I'd hug either one of you. And it's just one of those things where you kind of have to tell your brain, no, not going to do that.
When Richard brought over my comics, he and his husband came over, and we all stood apart, and nobody hugged. And I know it was me personally, but I can tell you definitely JJ was dying on the inside that she couldn't hug Chris, at least, not much Richard.
I know, and the question for us until we have, again, my answer and Sean's answer is widespread testing. Until we have something like that, how can we be sure?
Right, absolutely.
And just based upon the stories of the virus, I mean, some people do seem to recover, but it can be deadly for a lot of people. And I don't want to have
1,000 people haven't recovered. Yeah,
I don't want to be asymptomatic and give it to somebody that I care for. I mean, even if I myself feel indestructible, like the virus is not going to affect me, even if I have that, I can't live with the idea that I could have passed it on to somebody.
The odds that the three of us are going to get it and get sick are probably low. The odds that the three of us could carry it and give it to somebody else that could get sick are much higher. Yes.
And it's nothing about malicious intent. No one thinks anybody's walking out there breathing on people trying to give it. It's just the the simple nature of what a virus does. If you're in proximity to, you spread. It's just, you have to eradicate that kind of thought. So,
yeah.
Abby, how's she taking it?
Abby dealing with it? Yeah.
So,
how's she doing? What happened for the school year?
For those of you listeners that don't know, Abby is my 17-year-old daughter.
No, wait. How the hell is she 17 years old? She was like a baby yesterday.
Well, dude, right before Corona hit, one of the reasons we could not record is that in fact, the weekend it hit. The weekend when the chaos.
Some of the stuff that kept us from recording. Yeah.
Yeah, we took her on a college visit. She wants to go to the University of Colorado Boulder. It went beautifully. I'll say that we had a big thing scheduled. And slowly, we got there a few days ahead of time to enjoy the city of Boulder, which, if you've never been there, is absolutely gorgeous and a lovely city. Lots of cool things to do. While we're there, it was literally hour by hour. My wife and my daughter kept getting emails from the university that said, "We're going to start curtailing this visit to this way. This will happen. This will happen. This will happen." Until the night before, we got these visits are being canceled. But then,
wow, I didn't realize that.
Then we got the notification within it. We understand many of you have flown here, driven here, whatever, and are coming from out of state. If you've done that, and only if you've done that, if you're in state, you're done. You can't come because you could come another time. If you're out of state, we will meet with you one-on-one and do social distancing. So we go to the University of Colorado. And we meet with the head of admissions. I mean, that was the cool thing about it. They were pulling everybody in, and we got to meet them. We got to